What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quarter, and I've got a great story out of Uber. Now, Uber is one of those companies that, exists. It is very helpful, whether you're Uber, Lyft, or you're a regular taxi person in the big city or when you're traveling. Getting an Uber is great. But here's the problem. Once these companies get so big and they start making enough money, they have to morph. They have to morph and change away from being a service that is convenient and you choose because it is convenient and you find a lot of value in that product to a advocacy group, to a company that is extraordinarily bloated at the top. This is a tale as old as time. Companies make tons of money, so they hire all of these people and they become top heavy. We've seen this at Facebook. Twitter. I mean, Twitter is perhaps the best example. With the exception of a few things, Twitter's basically the same for most people every day, and they fired 7,000 out of 9,000 people or something like that. This is what happens when you have too much money rolling in. You spin it up into diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and you start hiring a chief diversity officer and a vice president of diversity, and you pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Then you tell your employees you suddenly care about their advocacy products and that you care about the color of their skin, and that all this kind of stuff happens to every major corporation because it's all tied to this, ESG score and whether or not companies will invest in you. This is exactly what we see with, Bud Light, for example. This is a company that, clearly is caught between two worlds right now where they want to continue to virtue signal, but their customers won't let them. And because they're not virtue signaling anymore, now the other side of the aisle, these hedge funds and huge, donors and corporations that invest and things of that nature, they're divesting and their stock continues to plummet. Well, Uber puts Asian diversity chief, fires Asian diversity. That's the new fired, by the way, on leave. Fires diversity chief after employees complained about "Don't Call Me Karen" sessions that were intended to explore the American white woman's experience. This is so good. Make sure you leave a like on this video. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below. Uber has placed its Asian diversity and inclusion officer on leave after employees complained about a "Don't Call Me Karen" session she arranged that was intended to explore the American white woman's experience. Nobody cares about white people. Not even white people. In fact, if you're a leftist, it is a form of currency to trash white people. My favorite variety is the white woman, the woke white woman, blasting white people. Generally, they're obese too. So to make it clear, let me continue. Bo Young, who's Asian, was hired by Uber in 2018 as its Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, a job that doesn't need to exist, by the way. She is now on leave after employees, including some involved in Black at Uber organization, complained about trying to essentially humanize white people. Contact Daniel Camacho. Whoa, Camacho? The president? Anyway. RELC invites you to join our latest installment of the event moving forward. We will have an open and honest discussion about race. Why we do this at the workplace? Illuminati reasons, I don't know. How about you just drive the day in cars and then you prevent women from getting taken advantage of by your drivers or people getting robbed? We will be diving in the spectrum of the American white woman's experience, from some of our female colleagues, particularly how they navigate around the Karen persona. The panelists include Nikki Krishnamurthy, Chief People Officer, Megan Musbach, Eats, whatever that is, Kelly Seaman, giggity, also from Eats, Diane, maybe from Uber Eats. That's what that must mean. Diane Kryman, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director, and Bo Young, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. They have two C-level positions at the company that this is their job. Just so we're clear, we're talking about, I'm guessing, between $400,000 and $600,000 a year between those two people. Titled Moving Forward, Don't call me Karen. The sessions were designed to give white women at Uber the chance to share their perspective. Quote, oh, wait, I already read that. Leo, who advocates for gender-neutral bathrooms, LGBTQ rights, and Black Lives Matter on social media, in addition to her job, moderated the conversation. The first session in April was inspired by a complaint from a black female employee who called it tone deaf, offensive, and triggering. I love this. Lee defended the decision, according to the New York Times, telling the woman that while the conversation may have been uncomfortable, sometimes being pushed out of your own strategic ignorance is the right thing to do. The second event happened last week on Zoom. During the session, Hispanic and Black employees complained on a designated Slack channel called Los Ubers and Black at Uber that they were being scolded. So when white people talk about their experience, you feel like you're being scolded. That's odd. That's an odd reaction. I thought, everyone who, if you're white and you have to listen to one of these struggle sessions, if you dare to push back against it or to question its validity, you are in fact racist. I think when people are called Karens, it's implied that someone has little empathy towards others or is bothered by minorities and doesn't look like them. They go on to complain. Like, why can't bad behavior not be called out? Complained one employee. Good question. Like that pregnant nurse who was getting robbed. Screenshots of their conversation were obtained by a reporter. On May 18th, the company announced that Lee had been placed on leave. We've heard many of you are in pain and upset by yesterday's moving forward session. While it was meant to be dialogue, it's obvious that these people are like, they're like monsters. That it's like 25 people run a company of 10,000 employees. Given that Dara and I have asked Bo to step back and take a leave of absence while we determine the next steps, the decision was, of course, celebrated on the Slack channels afterwards. Just want to say a huge thank you to the amazing ERG leaders, especially Black at Uber, who escalated Bo's behavior to Dara and made sure our outrage didn't go unheard. You deserve a pay raise or some time off for all this unpaid emotional labor. Uber did not... Dude, here's the wild thing. If my employees... I don't have enough employees to probably designate race sub Slack channels. But if my employees asked me for a black-only Slack channel or a whites-only Slack channel, the answer would be no. The answer would be no, and why do you think you need that? Why are you using Slack for anything to talk about non-work related? You want to talk racism? You want to talk about wokeness or this or that? Go do it on your own time, not on the clock at Uber. Get out of my office. Why is that so hard? Why is that so hard? This coming from a company that just days ago abandoned its 285,000 square foot San Francisco office. The staff insist on working from home as deserted city is overrun by homelessness. I keep hearing about how amazing San Francisco is. Uber has abandoned its 285,000 square foot San Francisco office as staff insist on working from home. By the way, I am also anti-work from home. I know there are exceptions to that rule, but I've never liked it. I've had staff that's worked from home, and I've never felt like I've gotten 100% of their time or effort. And sure, you can pay that way, and you accept it in some cases where, for example, I shouldn't say that. My employees are pretty good. But when I had worked in corporate, when I had corporate people working from home, I lived in the Midwest, I still do. So sometimes we needed like a high-end JavaScript developer or PHP developer or, something that wasn't sitting around the farm fields of Wisconsin. So we would have to hire remote workers, and they would do the job, but they weren't as dedicated as the people that were in the office. It's just a fact in my experience. There are certainly people that work from home that do great, like my video editors, my thumbnail guy. All do great work. They're on the clock all the time. So there are people that can do it. But to demand it is also a different thing. Since 2019, they've been paying $84 a square foot and also splashed out close to $160 million to build the space. And now they've just left it. I mean, I wonder why. Maybe what they should do is donate it to the homeless. Get them off the streets. I mean, wouldn't that be something that the Black at Uber thumbnail would do? You know, this is just a spectacular backfire. This is what happens. There's at no company, nowhere, at any time has there ever been a requirement for a diversity, equity, and inclusion employee. Period. Not, let alone two, and certainly they were both C-level, so they probably had multiple underlings that were also in that same department. This is what you get, Uber. Absolutely love to see it. If you enjoyed the video too and you made it this far, please do subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.